Now, I see so many beautiful faces, and I'm at the stage of life I really believe we need to take care of ourselves. So I want y'all to participate in this, okay? It's called If You're a Healthy Person, Clap Your Hands. Well, I hadn't done it yet. I'm going to wrap this up. All right, guys. Robert, Gary, Fred. Okay, here we go. And this is a little bit on the gender of the chick side, but there is stuff in there for you, okay? If you're a healthy person, clap your hands. Now that was bad. We got to do better. If you're a healthy person, clap your hands. If you've had a mammogram, clap your hands. Did you have a mammogram? Oh, but just because the insurance covered it, you went ahead and had it done. Oh, okay. Well, I'm scared to sing this next part. Well, hey, everybody. That was just a little bit to start your day or middle of the day or whatever. So that's a little bit of a healthy woman reminder. I've got more of that later, maybe at another broadcast. But gosh, I'm so tickled today because back by popular demand, drum roll, there's the man.
Hello. That was a funny bit, Jane.
Yeah, thank you.
It's funny when you asked if his insurance covered the mammogram. It's funny. End of the year, every year, I'm thinking, well, I got my deductible paid, so I'm going to see how much I could do. I get colonoscopies. I get my cholesterol. I get everything done just so insurance will take care of it.
No kidding. I mean, that's crunch time. Like, oh, what hurts? What can I get fixed?
I'm sure that knee surgeries are at an all-time high in December.
Yeah. Did you have knee surgery?
No, I decided I was much happier hobbling around than paying the deductible.
No kidding.
I needed my knees worked on it, but during COVID would have been the perfect time to do that because I could recover. But I wasn't making any money during COVID, so I didn't want to have to pay for it. So
no kidding. So how do you feel now?
I feel great. I feel good.
Liar.
I've been to the gym this morning. I'm in the gym at 6:30 a.m.
Yeah.
And I don't do a whole lot, but I go.
Yeah, well, you are good about that. So, well, I will tell you, Patrick, when I started doing these Jeanne front porch view things with first person, everybody said they wanted Patrick. And so many people have said, we love Patrick. And I told you yesterday, somebody gave you the best compliment, saying what a gentleman you were to Jeanne and how much they appreciated your respect for her. And that was really heartwarming. But gosh, we all do miss Jeanne and miss you, Tony, Norma Rose, the whole gang.
Well, that was a fun time. We certainly turned the pandemic into something positive. Not that there was a whole lot positive with the pandemic, but it gave Jeanne and I an opportunity to get a lot closer because, as a lot of her fans knew, I live right down the road from where she lived. And so I'd go over a few times a week and we'd work on ideas. And one thing I loved about Jeanne, she was absolutely willing to try anything for a laugh. And so we really also wanted to pay for it. If we needed equipment, she said, put it on my credit card. And so, anyway, it was a lot of fun doing that. And yeah, I do miss her. I drive by her house a few times a week, and it's sad, but it's also, I feel like any second she could run out and say, come on in.
It was just such a smart thing. The shows, because y'all had, how long did that run? 2-3 years?
Something like that.
Yeah. Well, give us an update. Of course, I know what you're doing because we keep up with each other, but tell everybody what you're up to.
Well, obviously I'm not dressing up for work these days, but I'm in my work clothes. So I'm still obviously speaking still, and that's been really picking up a lot. but right now at this moment in time, I got one son that graduated from college in May, and he's currently out there interviewing for jobs and doing DoorDash until he gets a job. And I've got a son starting college. I'll take him, Robert, on the 17th, which is Thursday. We take him and drop him off. And
goodness.
My daughter, she'll be a sophomore in high school. And every a lot of people knew, because Jeannie talked about, we have a Sunday night dinner. We call it the family dinner. And so we got people from the neighborhood come over, and I cook, and or Leslie does, and we just have a good time. And so this was Robert's last it was his last family dinner as a resident of this house. And so we had a bunch of people over, and I look out the window and I see 3 cars stopped in the middle of the street, and my daughter and all her friends are gathered around, and I saw boys in the car. And so I walked out there, and they all tensed up, and I said, well, park your cars, y'all come on in. So we had a bunch of strange teenagers in the house, eating hamburgers and having a good time. So,
well, I tell you, I saw Meredith, and we were in Orlando.
Yeah.
She's dropped dead gorgeous, Patrick.
Yeah.
You got something on you, honey. Woo, that girl's pretty. Not only is she pretty outside, inside she was well-mannered. Just, she's very, very attractive.
No, she fooled you. She is mean as a snake. One day, Jane, up until the time she was 12 years old, I mean, little girl, I would go into her bedroom every morning, and I'd rub her back, and I'd wake her up, and she'd yawn, and she'd stand up in her bed and just fall backwards, and I'd catch her, and I'd carry her downstairs, put her at the table, make her breakfast. That was our world every day that I was in town. And then she turned 12, and I walked into her bedroom, and I rubbed her back, and she looked at me, and she went, and she just, and people tell me that's just teenage girls. I don't think I've gotten a full hug in 2 years. She gives that head in. But I was walking by her room last night, and I heard her call out to me, and I walked in there, and she just reached her arms up and hugged me. And I said, okay, that'll give me another couple of months.
Lord, I know. It's just like the terrible twos. You put this compliant little precious thing in the crib, and the next morning and you go, where's my child? It's like same kind of deal. I mean, I don't know. They say this age is hormones and blue jeans, and that's about right.
Well, it's like my oldest is an Eagle Scout, and they told him that they told me, make sure he's on track to get it by the time he's 16, because then he gets at 16, they get overtaken by fumes. I said, what do you mean fumes? They said car fumes and perfumes. And so, but
gosh, that is funny. That is funny. Yeah. Speaking of that, and I'm not trying to hijack this, but I just, I was telling you about this book that I'm writing with a good friend of mine, Eva Marie Everson. So if y'all got something funny like that, we calling it advice from our Southern mamas, all y'all need to hear. And I've been racking my brain that's a funny when you're overtaken by fumes. That would be something your mama would say, or your daddy. So I just had to, before I forget, that's another part about getting old. You go, I got to do that right now. Anyway,
my son's the only Eagle Scout in America doesn't know how to start a fire.
At least you got one. That's quite an accomplishment. Were you ever one?
No, I didn't get past the Pinewood Derby.
What's that Pinewood Derby? What is that?
You're a Cub Scout. You carve these little balsa wood cars, and you have races down ramps. And, after that, I've moved on.
Well, I remember when I was a brownie. I don't even know if that exists anymore. And then Girl Scout, and then my mama she had the worst. She could not do anything domestic hardly. So you got this big old sash. All y'all remember the Girl Scout sash, and you get these badges. And mine were held on by safety pins and all these little earring stickums and ridiculous tape. My mother couldn't even sew a badge on my sash, and it was a funny one. I earned my sewing badge, and I had that glued on. I couldn't even sew. Like, how did I get that?
Those things staple on real nice. But, well, the funny thing is they said when you buy Jack's shirt, this is when he started when he was 12. Make sure it's big. And so he didn't grow into that shirt until he was 18. I mean, it was Jack would go to scout camp. He did not like scout camp, but he wasn't really an athlete until he got into high school and started running cross country. So I told him, I said, listen, you're going to have to do something. You're either going to play sports, do music. And if those don't work out for you, you're going to have to do scouts. You're not going to play video games all day. And so he knew that was the deal. So he went through the motions, did not do one step further than he was required to do. He made Eagle Scout.
God, that's incredible though. But so right now you're in the throes of I remember starting college and just get ready because waterworks are probably gonna happen Thursday. Leslie's probably that's gonna be tough, man, seeing that one go.
Leslie's tough as nails. I'm the one because I'm going straight to the airport to fly out to a trade show. And so I'm glad we're taking 2 cars because I'm going to be blubbering like a baby on the way out. But
So
it's only
good.
an hour. He's only going to be an hour away. So,
where's he going?
NC State.
Oh God, that's great.
Yeah.
So tell us about, it's the Lamarck, right? I keep saying it wrong. Is it Lawn
Arc?
Lawn Arc.
A lot of people may recall that during the pandemic, I got a call from my college roommate and he said, "What are you doing?" And I had just lost a year and a half of work off the calendar. And I said, "I'm watching Netflix and eating Cheetos." What do you think I'm doing? So anyway, long story short, he had met a guy named Lon Stacy, who this product's named after. And he had invented this weed killer that's natural and safe and works. And so he said, "Well, I'm going to partner with this guy and I want you to come in and run the company." And so we started Monarch Chem, which is we manufacture an eco-friendly pet safe weed killer. And we've got, it's just exploded. I mean, we're currently selling through Tractor Supply and, I'm meeting with Lowe's, Walmart, got 7 trade shows in the next 2 months to distributors all over the country. And so we're having the best time. I was talking to a guy yesterday. He said, "I'll take this into Africa." I'm like, they're trying to kill weeds in Africa. But,
they got weeds. Tell us about the T-shirt that you had printed. The slogan. That's dang funny. Leave it to Patrick. He's so clever. Okay.
Lawn Art. We smoke your weeds.
That is brilliant. Let me guess who came up with that.
That would have been me. But,
of course.
Well, it gets a laugh, but
how do you start you're in such a natural being that you're combining, and that's just a smart thing to do in a career like we have, is to have multiple streams of income. If you can call it that, I struggle with even that's a stream of income. But this business is so temperamental. So do you use, I'm sure you use a lot of your humor that you naturally factor into your presentations, because you just got back from speaking in Alabama, you had 2 in-services and then you did their school food service, right? Is that correct?
Yeah, well, I spoke to the Alabama School Nutrition Association. I know you speak to a lot of school nutrition groups, and I think you'll probably agree they're the best audiences because
oh my gosh.
First of all, they're underappreciated in their profession because they work behind the counter, behind the scenes. They don't have a lot of time with the kids, but they're so important in a healthy school environment. And so when they do get out to conventions, they want to laugh. And so that's why I love those audiences. But
can I put you on the spot? I'm going to interrupt because I played your little acapella. I played your song when I was in Kentucky, the Lunch Lady, and they went ballistic, loved it. And I'm sure they're going to call you for next year.
Well,
but can you do just a tad of it, or is there something? It's so dang funny, Patrick. I love it.
Well, if I could only find a guitar. Oh, look at there. I've got one right here.
I'm going to give you the stage. Let's call it that.
Can you hear the guitar okay?
Yeah.
So I'll just play a little bit of it. You never forget your first love. That first love is forever tucked away in the moss-covered recesses of your mind. Everything's better when you're in love for the first time. Food tastes better. Flowers smell sweeter. I remember my first love. How simply being in her presence made me forget what brought me there in the first place. I first saw her back in 1989. I got that loving feeling when her eyes met mine. She was much older than me, but I thought she was fine. Forbidden love in the cafeteria line. Now I got the lunch lady. I miss my lunch lady blues. Hey, I love that gal from her hairnet to her sensible shoes. She was much older than me, but that didn't stop my love. I dreamed of holding her hand through her polyethylene glove. She must have sensed how I felt. She always called me baby. They served my mashed potatoes with an extra side of gravy. Now I got the lunch lady. I miss my lunch lady blues. Hey, I love that gal from her hairnet to her sensible shoes. Well, corn dogs and pizza and chicken pot pie. She was the apple juice box of my young eye. I'd do anything if I thought it would please her. She was the queen of my heart and of the walk-in freezer. Now I'm happily married and she rarely comes to mind, but sometimes I think about her when I'm in a buffet line. Late at night when the kids are tucked away in bed, my wife puts on sexy lingerie and a hairnet on her head, 'cause I got the lunch lady. I miss my lunch lady blues. Hey, I love that gal from her hairnet to her sensible rock porch shoes. Hey, I love that gal and her food nutrition pyramid. My apron wearing mama so fine in all that she did. Adherence to compliance with minimal defiance. I miss my lunch lady blues.
Woo! That is fantastic. Yeah. Woohoo!
That problem is writing songs for specific audiences. You can't play that for insurance people. So
unless they had a hankering for the lunch lady.
That's right.
You know? Patrick, I love that. You just don't, I forgot how many views on YouTube. Yeah. But I know people know how to get in touch with you, but before we proceed, tell folks, what you got going and website and all that. I mean, I know people know, but let's remind them of it.
Oh, just patrickhenryspeaker.com. Yeah. Any of y'all listening, looking for speakers, you got two of them right here. Can't wait.
Yeah, man.
But, yeah, you can see that video on my website.
It's just hilarious. So I know a lot of folks want to know just how Norma Rose and how Tony, your mother-in-law, doing. Give them an update.
Yeah. I don't know how Norma's doing. She doesn't come by anymore. No, I saw Norma not long ago. She's doing fine. She's still Norma. Tony is, I don't know how we'd make it without Tony around. She's running the kids left and right. Actually, Meredith, she knows not to call me during the day to ask me to do something because I'm always so busy, but she just calls Grana. And so
Grana? God, that's a good name. Yeah.
Actually, yesterday, Meredith had dance and Tony was taking another one of her friends to dance because Mare caught a ride. I'm like, why are you taking the other girl? She's like, well, she needed a ride. So better her than me.
I'll tell you what, it's a blessing. My mother-in-law lived right down the road. And when I was building my business, I don't know what I would have done without her, just running errands and taking the children to and fro. And there are times that I wasn't there. But there's one thing that I have to say that I admire about you. When you became the president of our association for speakers, and I'm going into speaker world right now, but remember you called me up and you said, you got to get back with this group. And I said, gosh, Patrick, I'm so busy. My kids are about to go to college. I'm so busy with them. And I said, I'll come back, I promise. And then here we are. And I said the same thing to you. I said, Patrick, you got to get back. And you said, I understand where you were, but you're a good daddy. I will tell
Well,
you
thank
that.
you.
Really
Well, I
good
always,
daddy, always good, and good son, and good husband, of course. Good, the whole thing.
well, I appreciate that. No, I always said I would never miss a soccer game for a free meeting. Now, if I'm making money, now the kids do know what pays the bills, but no, I wasn't going to miss anything. When I started having kids, and I was 33 years old when I got married, and I always tell people in my speech, when you're 33 years old and you're just getting married, you've moved on from the stage in life where your mother says, "Son, when you going to get married and give me some grandchildren?" When you're 33, she just tries to convince her Bible study that you do like girls. But but no, I mean, we started having kids right away. I mean, Jack's my stepson, and 2 months after we got married, we were pregnant with Robert, and so I went straight into parenthood, and everybody said it's going to go fast, and I believed them, and so I stayed as hands on as I could, and sure enough, here we are sending them off to college, and so I'm grateful that you know, that I was also picking them up from school and doing all that. In
Well,
addition to my wife.
you can't redo that once it's done. That's the part. I mean, if you, and then you always as a parent are going, what did I do wrong? And then I just think we do the best we can with what we're given. And I mean,
I
parenting is
just I
definitely a
just
job.
stay out of the way. I mean, my kids they've never given us significant problem other than Jack's inability to not wreck a car. But they've never given us any problems. They've never been involved in drugs and alcohol and things like that. And so as long as they're surrounded by a good group of friends and we know all their friends, I just stay the heck out of the way. And I call it bowling with bumper rails. I just keep the rails up, make sure they don't go too far left or too far right, and I just let them become the people they're going to become.
Yep, that's right. I mean, my mother-in-law always said children have a nature. You can't change it, you steer it. And
Right.
that's when it gets to be a little tough to have and watch them make mistakes. But I know your children are a great source of humor for you. I remember that's the first thing Jeannie said to me when she met me. She said, "Oh," I said, "Well, I have really little kids. I have a newborn and then a toddler." She said, "Oh, that's funny." I went, "No, it's not funny
Yeah.
right now, Jeannie. It's pretty tough." But I mean, they're constantly a source. They're so different. I think you wonder how God can allow those to habitate your womb, and they're all so different. But
Well,
it is good material. I'll tell
I've
you.
told this story before. We always go down to the beach every year, and we started a few years ago doing our annual beach trip at the beginning of the summer. So when the kids got out of school, it was, we didn't wait. And plus summer gets real busy. And so we would go down, and when Meredith got older, or the kids got older, we started letting them bring friends with them because we'd get this big beach house in Surf City, Topsail, North Carolina. And when Meredith was 12, she brought the squad. Now, the squad is a group of 4 girls, and they, are all joint. They all share a brain and an outfit, and they're inseparable. And so we got rooms. So come on, and we got a house down by the pier, and so it was right kind of in the little town of Surf City. There's restaurants around, so they can walk. And so there were 12, so we just let them go, and I could track them on the app. And so they go, I could tell, well, they're eating, or they're at the pier, or they're here. And so, the biggest fear of every parent, especially fathers, is some creepy old dude's going to mess with your little girl. Mm-hmm. And so my job is to keep the creepy old dudes away. And so one night, it was about 10 o'clock at night, 9:30, 10 o'clock at night, they said, "We're going down to the pier to get ice cream." And I said, "No, it's way too late." And my wife was like, "Let them go." And I said, "Okay." So they left. And about 30 minutes later, I'm like, "Well, where are they?" And I checked the app, Life 360, where you can see a little dot, and so you can tell where they are. And so I could see the pier on my phone, but Meredith was in the parking lot. And I said, oh gosh, she's out in the parking lot with some boy or some creepy old dude, and so I just lost my head. And so I headed out the door, and Leslie said, where are you going? I said, I'm going to find him. And so I walked down there, convinced that some creepy old dude had talking to my daughter. And I went to the parking lot, and it was filled with cars, and I didn't see her anywhere. And so I start looking in car windows, every car window I looked in, and I couldn't find her. I called Leslie and I said, I can't find her anywhere. She said, well, she's probably at the ice cream shop like she said she was going to be. So I walked up to the pier, looked in through the window, and there they were, sitting at a table eating ice cream exactly like they said they're going to be doing. So I got embarrassed and kind of just backed off, and I started walking back to the house. And I passed these two women on the sidewalk, and I heard one of them tell the other, we need to be careful. I hear there's some creepy old dude looking in car windows in the parking lot.
So you became the creepy old guy.
I was a creepy old dude.
That's so funny. That kind of reminds me a little bit when we had a water filter put in our house. We live in the country. Oh Lord, it's just unbelievable. The iron in the water turns everything. So we finally got a guy, found the water filter. And I remember I'm dumping, I go out there, I'm going, yay, we got a water filter. And I'm dumping all these rocks and all the sediment, helping him, And he said, where are you from? Like that. And I said, Johns Island, originally outside of Charleston. He said, oh, I remember way back when there was a Miss South Carolina done come from Johns Island. And he looked at me and I said, I wonder what became of her. Oh, I was never going to tell him it was me. But that's so funny. That's the part of humor that's so incredible. And I know we're going to wrap it up, but you were in the platform professionals. Lou Heckler was my guest last week. And he was just talking about that same thing, Patrick, is when you take something so common and funny like that and just build on it and make it into some kind of funny bit or life lesson or whatever. But you're so good at that. And I think people love and appreciate you and miss you a bunch.
Well, I appreciate that. I mean, I think that was Jeannie's biggest message to the world was anything just about. You can find the humor in just about any life situation, and she did, and even when she was sick, she would look at me and say, "Well, I got to find something funny, something to laugh about," and she would, and so she was laughing all the way up to the end, and that's what was so special about her. And I was having a conversation with a woman yesterday, and Nora Burns, and she had called, and we were talking about Jeannie, and she said that she talked to Jeannie at a conference in Denver, and Jeannie and she was kind of in awe of Jeannie, and she had actually spoken at the same event that Jeannie spoke at a few years before, and Left Brain walked up, and Jeannie turned and introduced her to Left Brain and said that she said, oh, Nora and I shared the stage a couple years ago at this conference. And Nora, she didn't even mention that, but she was so amazed that Jeannie remembered her and made the point about turning the conversation about her. So often we are, we meet people and we can't wait to kind of throw up our resume on them. And Jeannie was all about making you the center of the conversation. And that's what was special about her.
Well, and Al McCree said it best. He said she loved her fans, and every single email she got or Facebook post or something, she would respond. And, that says a lot. And people, like you said, if you can, your daddy was like, your daddy was so blasted funny. I remember your daddy was so intentional about zooming in conversation. And when I would see him in a crowd of people, he made me feel like I was the only person there. And I'll never forget one time he was talking to somebody and their eyes were dancing all over. He said, are you trying to find somebody better to talk to? Why can't you look at me? I mean, he really, and and that has stuck with me. Like, man, I really need to make that person feel like they are just, and they are special. So,
well, my my dad used to always say, picture everybody with the letters MMFI tattooed on their forehead, which stands for make me feel important.
Oh
And I think
yeah.
if more people would have that attitude, um, I mean, Jeannie loved her. I love my fans, all 12 of them. And
God, Patrick, you got so many folks loving you just from doing those
oh,
wonderful events that you did with Jeannie and
no,
driving, when she was unable to really travel alone. And it was just, she always took whatever was she was dealing with. And just like when she broke her femur that time and found the rock, how many people can sit in a rocking chair and rock and be just as funny as a comedian or a humorist working the stage?
well,
that's
I mean,
that's funny. That's content right there. She was brilliant with that.
she loved being on stage, and she was a true artist in that regard. Yeah, I've I mean I love it, you love it, but I mean just embraced it in a way that only a star does, I think.
Oh yeah, and the fact that she had an open ticket to go to the Grand Ole Opry. Good gosh, how many people have that? That
No,
was
well, you
impressive.
remember when Jeannie Seely was on her show, on the show? Jeannie Seely was the first woman on the Grand Ole Opry, and I was a little starstruck because, I lived in Nashville 10 years writing songs, and and I knew who Jeannie Seely was, and so I was talking. I played a song on the show, and her husband Gene was sitting there. He used to be a high-powered attorney in Nashville, and just a true Southern gentleman. You could tell that this guy was, had something. And he asked me. He said, "Do you know the wildwood flower?" And I said, "Well, I know it, but I can't play it." A lot of people think country music's basic, but it's not always. It's not easy music. A lot of those pickers, and I remember thinking to myself, God, how amazing would it be if I had just pulled out my guitar and played the Wildwood Flower for him like he had asked. And so for the next 6 months, I sat down and I learned how to play the Wildwood Flower just in case I ran into him again.
Please, can you close us out with that?
I will.
That would be fabulous. I'll give you the layout here, the full layout.
Not as good as it could be, but better than it was.
Golly, that's great, Patrick. You're so talented. I always love it when you play. But thank you for being. And listen, we're gonna get you back on at any time, anytime. We trying to figure out a way to get Norma Rose and Tony. Just to, I don't know. You got to help me with that. Too many people just want to see them and love on them a little bit, like they want to
Well,
love on you.
I'm sure we can make that happen.
Okay, darling. Well, big hug. Thank you so much for being here and giving everybody an update. You've got so many people that love Jeannie. Remember her. She still lives on, I'll tell you. But one thing we have to do in her honor and in her memory is continue to let people learn and love and laugh. I do think that's really important. Thank you, darling. Mwah.
All right. Good to see you.
Okay.
Checked in the shower when you're wet. Then you're a healthy person. Clap your hands. This is really scary, if y'all. But for these ladies, it's good. If you've had your legs in stirrups, stomp your feet. If you've covered with the sheets, stomp your feet. If you promise not to swear, and it's time for your pap smear. On your legs, please use some Nair. And wash your feet. Y'all can participate in this. Shake your booty for the colonoscopy. Wait. I'm sure y'all have had seriously. You're not gonna do that? You're not gonna shake your booty? Okay, all right. Well, that was special. Shake your booty for the colonoscopy. Drink the fluid so the doctors, they can see. If there are polyps in your tract, have them out and be relaxed. Shake your booty for the colonoscopy. This is definitely not for y'all. Fan your face if you're hot all the time. And you can't sleep till way after 9. My favorite verse. Oh my God, I just gotta get through this. If you're afraid to sneeze. And the chin hair you must tweeze. Okay, so I know 10 pairs of tweezers. I really do. And my husband is a tooth guy. So he has these little things, these little hook things with dental floss in them in this little pack, like these little pick things. So I've got all of my tweezers. So we will stop at a light and he'll pick up his little tooth thing and go, and I'm going like this. And I said, you are disgusting. I had an Olympic-sized hair, I am telling you. I mean, I pulled on, went, no. I said, Thomas, why didn't you tell me? He said, I wanted to see how long it would get. And the chin hair you must tweeze, 'cause we tinkle in our drawers, 'cause we know it's menopause. So be a healthy person, clap your hands.